Hey there, Mike Dunn, Editor-in-Chief of Tabletop, and I've got something very special to tell you about. It's a new crowdfunding campaign from Gooey Cube. It's called The Tomb of Gyzengax. It's a tribute to Gary Gygax and many of the legends that created the wonderful game that we all love to play. The link is right down here. Go hit it up, back it. You can't go wrong.
Hey there, I'm Mike Dunn with Gamingtrend, and today I have with me Anjali Bhimani, who's part of DesiQuest, who has done some stuff with the Critical Role folks, with Kendall Obscura and Critical Role itself. Actress, she's been in Miss Marvel. I mean, she's been everywhere. But I think the best thing I could do is just let Anjali introduce herself. Anjali, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Mike.
Excellent. So you've got a lot of stuff going on right now. Not the least of which is DesiQuest. Is it Desi?
Yes. It's DesiQuest.
DesiQuest. Okay.
Yeah, the word Desi is basically South Asians' word for South Asians. So you know, as an Indian, we use that all the time whenever we're talking about our own things. So that is what that means.
Excellent. Well, tell us what's going on with that. Let's start with that. I think that's a good place
I'm
to
so glad that we're
with.
starting with that because it is a big part of my heart right now. So DesiQuest is basically it's the brainchild of Jasmine Bhullar, who is our DM and also the world creator of the show. And years ago, when she and I first met, right at the beginning of the pandemic, like literally the week before lockdown, we met doing a one-shot at Critical Role, and she said, you know, I really just want to do a show where I'm playing at the table with people who actually look like me, because the fact that there are two Indian people at the same table right now is like mind-blowing. So how cool would that be? And I'm like, yeah, sure, let's do it, let's go. And then lockdown hit. And so that obviously got shelved, at least in my mind. You know, we went on to work on other things. And then it came back around when it turned out that she had connected with the two folks at Effin' Funny, who are Sandeep Parikh and Anand Shah. And both of them I've worked with before. Sandeep, I directed, and I think he directed and Anand wrote on a series that we had done together, an interactive series. So I already knew them, and he came around and said, hey, I'm working on this new thing. Would you be interested? I'm like, I already said yes 3 years ago. Let's go. So we ran a Kickstarter and started up and filmed it earlier this year. And we just released it around Diwali, which is the Hindu New Year. And I am so thrilled and proud of this show. It is a Dungeons and Dragons actual play, or at least this season is a Dungeons and Dragons actual play. And, you know, we only have one season, so who knows? I'm speaking to the gods as if we have multiple seasons right now. And the world that we are playing in, unlike most high fantasy stuff, which is very Lord of the Rings kind of, you know, the kind of more medieval European setting, this world that Jasmine has created is based on the mythology, the culture, the history of India. So all of the players at the table are South Asian, and all of our guests that come in throughout the series this season are from another culture. So we have a chance here to introduce people to our culture, to invite them to the party. It's not like a didactic thing where people are having to be taught. No one feels like everyone is being, how do I put this? Like, sometimes I think people are afraid to learn about a new culture or any kind of underrepresented group because they don't want to make a mistake and they don't want to offend anyone. And we're here to say, come, we will tell you all this and we will share all the things. If you make a mistake, no problem, we'll fill you in. We know that people are here because of a love of other people and a love of other cultures and a love of gaming. So yeah, it's been going great. I'm so proud of it. I'm so thrilled. All of the other players, it's Sandeep, Omar Najam, Rekha Shankar, both of whom have done stuff with Dropout and Dimension 20, myself, and then Jasmine as our DM. And it's quite a season. I think we just dropped episode 4 last week. And there are 8 episodes in the season. So we have some more. Plus, we also aired a session 0 over the holidays because we didn't want to take a full break.
Excellent.
So
Now,
yeah.
Jasmine, if I recall, is also part of the Acquisitions Incorporated.
She
Doesn't
sure
she play?
is. She's a major part.
Yeah. No, she plays Omen Dron's daughter.
That's
Certainty.
right.
Yeah. That's I would say probably a lot of our viewers would recognize her directly.
Oh,
from
amazing!
That, for sure.
I actually hadn't seen her live until this last PAX Unplugged, when I got a chance to sneak in and watch part of the show, and she's just so great. She's got such a, I mean, she's, first of all, she's so prolific. I don't know how she has any time in the day to do what she does.
Yeah, she's everywhere. What the heck?
But she's also just the way her mind works. I don't feel like, look, we have incredible game masters and incredible dungeon masters out there in the world. I don't even need to name them. We know who they are. Jasmine is right up there at the top of that list, and I'm hoping that with DesiQuest and a lot of the stuff that she's doing, people see that, because she has such a unique way of DMing. She has such a unique way of world building. She has such a unique way of chatting with her players, and to see someone who is extraordinary compared in any group of people, but especially in our demographic, especially from our culture, especially a woman from our culture who happens to be also can go toe to toe with anyone else. She's just such a great storyteller. I just love her.
Now, so that started last year. And it's
That's right.
Is that, are y'all streaming that just on YouTube, or are you streaming that on Twitch too?
Yeah, it's on, I think it's just on YouTube right now. If you just go to DesiQuest.com/watch, that'll go to the channel. And then we did announce that it is going to be on the D&D Fast channel, the D&D Adventures channel. So they're going to be.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. So we've talked to a number of people from the D&D Fast channel here at Gamingtrend. I think it's a lot of great programming has been hitting that. I
really like Faster Purple Worm Kill. So I just wish we could. I'm hoping that it becomes a little more accessible, because it's a little difficult to find right now.
That was exactly what I was going to bring up. That's probably my only gripe with it is that it's so hard to keep up with.
Every time you launch something, you're ironing out the kinks, you're figuring out the best way to do things, and they've done something pretty done something pretty groundbreaking with this. So I can forgive little things here and there, because look at what they've created. I mean, they have created 3 very unique shows. And even in Counterparty, even though we do have actual play shows out there, I don't think we have one like that one. Right. And then just Faster Purple Worm Kill was so much fun to do. The whole team at Beetle and Grimm's, but especially Matt, because I just know him from life as well. They're all so wonderful, and they're so fun, and they just want to have a great time.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah. All right. So, DesiQuest.com.
DesiQuest.com. So it's DESI.
DESI
Quest.com/watch.
Yes. Yeah. So make sure you check that out. We're going to keep on talking about some of your other projects, though.
Okay.
So you were recently in the Candela Obscura series. Tell us a little bit about that experience.
Oh wow! What a cool thing to be a part of. So look, the folks at Critical Role in my book can kind of do no wrong. They really just have constantly been breaking new ground and opening doors and building new worlds. They've been doing so many awesome things, and so to be a part of a show that is basically displaying their own original game system and world, it was such a joy. I mean, obviously, anytime I get to be at the table with any of them, it's a joy. And normally, I am not a huge fan of the horror genre in general. But what I love so much about this particular game system is that it's horror with hope. That you can play this game, like one of the folks in our panel, I can't remember, I think it might have been Taliesin, but when we were doing the panel at Comic-Con, said the difference in this game is that usually in horror movies, the character that goes on through the sequels, the one that survives, is usually the monster or the bad guy or whatever, and occasionally there's a star that makes it through a few of those or comes back, but the villain is almost always the same. In ours, we as a party can do that. We as a group of investigators can continue on. So there is absolutely room for a win scenario in every single game, depending on how your GM wants to play it. Which for me then makes it much more interesting, because if it's just about, hey, we're all going to die, let's find out how, I'm not so interested in that. 10 Candles is not my favorite game. I understand the storytelling value of that, but I just like having a chance to find the light in the dark.
Or even like Call of Cthulhu, where like,
yeah.
I mean, I remember playing Call of Cthulhu back in the day, and like I didn't care for it because A, I was a kid. B, like my character's either going to go insane or die by the end of the adventure. What's the fun in that?
So I did play one game once. I think it was a game I played with Becca Scott, Jasmine, and oh god, I'm so bad at this. I can't remember who the other person was. But we ran away. We survived. So we made it. We just fled. That's basically what happened there.
I actually played a game of Call of Cthulhu recently. I guess in the last couple of years. It was like a virtual convention during the pandemic, and my opinion of it did a U-turn, because my character did die, but he died right at the end of the one shot. And and he died in such an amazing way that like basically won the adventure for our whole party. And it was just okay, I get it now.
Exactly. When there's an opportunity for that kind of a win scenario, I'm totally with it. And Candela definitely has that. What's really extra wonderful about what they've done with how they're sharing this game system at Critical Role is that they have done the show in chapters, and they have done different groups of investigators with different GMs leading the game. So what that's given an opportunity for people to see is how versatile this game can be. You know, it's a very different game when Matt was DMing it than it was in the second chapter when Spencer was DMing it, and it was a lot more intense. And then it's a very different one this chapter where Abria is DMing it, and different players. Just like any game, it really depends on the vibe of the people who are playing it and the GM who's running it. So I think it is an incredible game system. I love that it is so simple to pick up. There's not a lot of reading. There's not a lot of crazy mechanics that you have to. It's much more conducive. It's very storytelling focused, which I like, and very cinematic, which I also appreciate.
So how long have you been into this sort of thing, the TTRPGs, D&D, other stuff?
Yeah. So
like how far back does this go for you?
Well, when I was 8 years old, my older brother got me the D&D basic set.
Excellent.
And I fell in love with it. I went upstairs and played the solo adventure immediately. I took the crayon and filled in all the dice and all of that, and so I just fell in love with it. I read all his AD&D books, became obsessed with it throughout school, and then I had a period pretty much after high school when I went to college, all the way through like 2018, which I call the dark days of gaming in my life, because I somehow I was like, oh, I have to do more serious things, because back then it was like decades ago, and it wasn't so mainstream. There weren't a lot of people out there playing it, and especially not girls. And
you had to keep it secret, keep it safe.
If you weren't keeping it secret, you were definitely keeping it separate. Like there was not a lot of overlap between the stuff that I was doing in school or the stuff that I was doing in the shows that I was doing, whether it was the plays or anything else. There wasn't a lot of overlap between the two. But in the last 10-ish years, I feel like, again, beginning, I think, with Critical Role, but also with some other great companies like Dropout and Dimension 20, and there's so many people bringing the actual play world to life. And then, after Critical Role, then Stranger Things happened, so a lot of people who'd never heard of it saw it on a TV show, and then got to swing back and go down the rabbit hole online and find D20 and find CR and find all of these people. And at the same time, what was happening was people were finally able to come out of the woodworks and say, hey, I love doing this. So I came back to
their heads out.
Yeah,
is it safe?
Exactly. And so for me, I'm very lucky because I came back to it because of Matt and Marisha. Because I met Matt and Marisha at the first Overwatch kind of cast gathering that we had right after Overwatch had come out. And so we had shared our love of D&D, and I mentioned how much I missed it and whatever. And then Marisha had hit me up later when they were back at Peak and Sundry, and she said, "Hey, my friend Ivan Van Norman is going to be running this game on this show. I think you'd be great for it. Would you be interested?" And I met with Ivan, did a little play test, and that was it. I was like, why did I ever stop doing this? Why did I ever stop doing this? This is such an artistic, collaborative, enjoyable, like, it's just such a wonderful genre of creation to be a part of. And the fact that I came back to it after, decades of being a professional actor and being able to recognize it as, oh, this is long form improv. This isn't just a game. It's long form improv. And when you are playing it with people who are committed to the story, yes, rules are important, but they understand the point is the story. That there's a whole other level of commitment and engagement that I think that you can find there. So I started with that, with Ivan, with We're Alive Frontier, which was the Outbreak Undead system. Then I joined CR for one that they did with the Savage World system, and then I did some D&D with a one-shot, and then Exandria Unlimited, and blah, 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 blah. Like one thing led to another, and here we are.
Yeah, I had a similar dark days kind of period myself where I was focused on career and I don't have time to play games. And then I took over tabletop at Gamingtrend and was like,
so you get it.
Oh, I'm back in. Why did I leave?
Exactly. And it I think it speaks to the sort of misconception or the false narrative that we have been sold that games aren't important in life.
Oh, right.
Every animal on the planet plays. Like it's part of what we need in life is games, is play, is something that is either collaborative or competitive or whatever it is, but that sense of we're doing this in a fun way. And the gamification of life has been so prevalent. Everybody's got an app that tracks this, or you get bonus points for that, or whatever, whether it's exercise or diet or, mindfulness, whatever it is. So it's an innate part of what we respond to as human beings. So the fact that so many of us were told, and even now, I think so many people are being told, oh, this is games, you just play games, is that what you're going to do for games? And I'm like, yeah, it's absolutely what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Because if I'm going to be working 18 hours a day, I'm going to be having fun while I'm doing it.
Absolutely.
So whatever it is, whether I'm on set, whether I'm on stage, whether I'm playing a TTRPG, it's got to be fun. And that's
and I got to tell you, there's still like a 10-year-old version of me in my head that's like going, people are watching people play D&D?
Yeah.
What?
Well, I know, it's mind-blowing,
yeah.
But then when you think about the logic of it, it makes perfect sense. Mm-hmm. Because unlike, look, I have plenty of respect for video game streamers because I know that is a very viable, not just a career, but a form of entertainment. I don't really get behind it so much because I'm like, I'll play the game if it's a video game. However, when you get a group of people together, no matter what their experience level, no matter where they came from, you get a certain group of people together telling a story. It's a play. It's a show.
Yeah.
It's a thing. Yeah. It's absolutely entertainment. So of course we're watching people play D&D or Outbreak Undead or Savage Worlds or Candela. Of course we're watching people do that because it is storytelling, and that's what every single medium in the entertainment world is about. Whether it's theater, whether it's film, whether it's television, whether it's voiceover, animation, all of it, it's storytelling. And this is just another branch of that tree.
Yep, totally.
Plus, it also has that wonderful unpredictable factor because the dice tell the story, you don't.
Well, it's the collaboration that really kind of differentiates it for me. Because when I was growing up, I was too terrified to be a DM or GM, right?
Oh, I still am.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm still talking to one of my best friends who was our GM. Like, he actually sent me some updates to his persistent world that he's been creating today, just this morning. And I'm like, man, you're awesome. I wish you were here so we could play. But yeah, like when I came back to the hobby, and everybody's like, let's start up a D&D game, and I'm like, okay, and then it was like crickets when everybody was like, all right, who's gonna DM it?
Who's
And I
gonna
was just
run
like, screw it, I'll do it,
Yep.
And
I feel like that's how a lot of people end up DMing, is because someone else
right.
can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
you kinda- like,
and then I found out I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah.
I freaking loved it. Like, I can't, like, it's hard for me to go back. Actually, I think it's made me a better player, because I have gone back and I've played in some campaigns since then, and I've had a lot more fun. But it's that collaborative thing. Like, I love collaborating. I loved it when I was like a designer making websites and stuff. I love it when I'm playing games. I love collaboration, and nothing really kind of captures that collaborative energy than more than TTRPGs, I think.
Totally. I'm interested. I know you're asking me questions, but I got to ask you, what do you think about DMing made you a better player? I'm intrigued by that sentence.
Oh gosh.
Or how did it make you a better player?
So it forced me to role play more, which when I was a kid, like this was like back in the early to mid 80s playing D&D, and there wasn't much emphasis on role playing, and we were all
we were rolling the dice, yeah.
It was more about rolling dice and hacking apart monsters, right? And like we didn't have the self-esteem yet at that age, being a bunch of pale, pasty nerds hiding out in a room playing D&D on the weekend when everybody else is playing outside, like, soccer and stuff. But like it kind of opened up my eyes to like the whole like nature of give and play between the DM and the players, and just like appreciating like the curveballs that players will give you, and then like playing like I'm like, okay, what curveball can I give my DM? Right? Like,
that's the part that scares me about DMing. we did a number twice, I can remember, at Critical Role specifically, in 2 different shows. One was Exandria Unlimited Kaimal, and one was the one shot we did with Sam Riegel running it, that was sort of a la the Hunger Games, but it was not because
right.
But in both of those games, we completely went off the rails as players. And poor Sam and poor Abria. Abria had a whole battle planned at the end, and then Amy Carrero came in with a decision that she made, and Abria was like, cool. That's it. Now there it is. That's what's going to happen. And same thing with poor Sam. I felt so bad after that. I felt like I just needed to run up to him and be like, I'm so sorry. I think I started that off the railsness, and then we all just jumped on. But that again, that's the fun as a player. Right. I don't know how fun it is for a DM.
So the first few times that happened to me, it wasn't fun. I was like, this is not what I had planned at all.
Right.
But then as I started getting more experienced with DMing, like I actually really started liking those moments more, simply because it was challenging for me to like either get them back on track or to just kind of come up with something on the fly, and it really taught me the value of not over preparing.
Yeah. Well, what's funny about that is I probably could use some of that, because that is actually something that I have to remind myself in my auditions.
Yeah, right.
Particularly my TV and film auditions. Like, don't like, you got to be ready to handle something new, because you don't know who's going to be reading with you necessarily. You don't know what's going to come out in that moment. So trusting in your ability to handle anything that comes at you, that makes sense to me. That makes good sense to me. All right, Mike. You may.
It's something it's an idea that I use, like even when I conduct, for instance, an interview with someone. Like, I don't over prepare. I like to keep things conversational because I like to see where the conversation goes. It's more fun
here we are, and you've let me go all over the place.
Exactly. So, just to kind of steer things back to something, let's talk about this game that you're promoting called Stray Gods. Give us the skinny on that. Yeah.
Sure. So this came out last August, I believe it is. What is time anymore? I don't know what time it is. But it came out last year.
I think it's a flat circle, or so I'm told.
I cannot tell you how incredibly grateful I am to be a part of this game because it combines three of my very favorite things. It combines video games, mythology, and musicals. Now, my whole acting career began because I fell in love with musicals. And I also was in love with mythology from a very, very young age. You know, when I was growing up, the comic books I got from in our family were these Indian comic books that taught you about Indian mythology. They weren't necessarily an Indian history. They weren't necessarily superheroes. So the mythology, those were my superheroes, and Wonder Woman, because you know, who didn't love Wonder Woman? But so that and mythology, and then you know, turning that into a video game. It's such a mind-blowing combination of things. And David Gator and Austin Wintry and the whole team at Summerfold, how they came together to make this work. It's a musical video game. So just like any other role-playing game where you know, your decisions affect the story, well, in this one, your decisions not only affect the story, they affect what music you will hear. They affect what measures of what music you will hear. You will hear a song completely differently when you make different choices in that game than another time. And it's such a light lift too for people who are not particularly adept at, say, first-person shooters. Well, I'm certainly not. Or people who are not just heavy gamers. It's such a beautiful story. It's such a beautiful storytelling game, and the cast that they put together. I mean, Troy Baker, you know, started the whole thing off as the director, as the performance director, and then also he ended up taking on one of the roles, and he's such a fantastic. We already know, everybody knows he's a great actor, but he's such a fantastic director. The very light touch with the way he can just bring things out in people, or just make the space safe for people to explore, is really extraordinary. Not everybody has that skill. And certainly not all actors, because I think a lot of actors who go into directing just want to tell people what to do, but he gives people the space to find it. And I love that. And he and Austin and David and all of our sessions were such a joy. I get to play Medusa, and I was the first character that they recorded, so we didn't know anything about what it was going to sound like. We just, you know, the music at that point was just someone plunking it out on a piano and a guy singing my part. So, you know, the sky's the limit. We could do whatever we wanted to with it. And they just let me play, and here we are. And the cast, like I said, the cast is incredible. It's Laura Bailey and Janina Gavankar and Kari Payton and Erica Ishii and just so many people that are extraordinary in and of their own right. But then you put them all together in this game, and it's just, I'm so thrilled. I love it so much. I love the music. I love the characters, all of it.
Awesome. Now, is that available now, or is that for,
no, it's out. I think you can play it on Switch. You can play it on PS4, which is where I play. PS5. I'm sure it's out on Xbox. Yeah, it's absolutely out there.
What is the thing that you're most excited about besides the things that we've already talked about?
What am I most excited about?
Yeah.
A bunch of stuff that I can't tell you about because I'm under NDA. I'm very excited about the stuff that I'm producing because I you know, DesiQuest, I'm one of the producers on that, one of the executive producers, and I'm producing a short film right now and a series and some other sneaky things that I can't tell you about. I'm just most excited, honestly, about figuring out more ways to tell stories. As you can tell, I don't sit still well. Because I just want to keep doing this. I want to do it in as many ways as I can, and for as long as I can. So while I have the energy, I want to try everything. I'm just excited to see what happens next, what comes my way, because I've found more and more, the older I get, this becomes more and more true, that if I just follow the joy and follow the excitement and follow the eagerness of telling stories and surround myself with people who feel the same way and aren't caught up in numbers or fame or money or followers or all of that stuff, but people who are there to do the thing because it's fun. And yes, we happen to do it for a living, and thank goodness, because we should be compensated for our work. But also that sense of like this has to come from a place that is excited and eager. So I'm really just excited to see what other things fall in my lap, because right now we got stuff going on through June already. So I'm excited. I'm just excited about what's to come.
Nice. No, I'm right there with you. I've come to roughly the same conclusion. Like it's not about the money or fame anymore, or it never really was, to be honest.
Yeah, and there's something to, once you realize that as an artist, and I think this is an important distinction to make, because I had this little snarky moment with an uncle of mine when I was much younger. There's an important distinction to make between fame and success, or tons of money and success. Every single one of us has a different definition of success. Mine was, I just want to make a living doing the thing I love. That's all. I don't care how big it is. I want people to love what I'm doing and me to love what I'm doing, and for us to enjoy that together. And so, yes, it's important because we all need to make a living, but ultimately leaving yourself that room and giving yourself that grace to say, I don't need the world to know about what I'm doing for me to feel successful. That's on me to feel successful, because the trappings of success that we see in the world, they're all very glitzy and they're all very sexy and all of that, but ultimately if you're not happy and proud of what you're doing yourself, none of that will be enough. But if you're following the joy and working with people you love and come at it with the same excitement as I came, like when I was doing theater with my friends for -$4 a week and we're putting together the stage by ourselves and all this stuff, like that joy, I want that to be present in everything I do for the rest of my life, if I am so lucky.
And honestly, the only thing I would add to that is that as I've gotten older, I've also gotten more and more shameless. Like,
yeah, that's. I feel like that's a true thing for all of us. The older we get, we're like, I don't know if I have many more F's to give, so to speak.
Yeah, like, embarrassed? What's that, I don't care about that anymore.
I say this all the time. Nothing good in my life ever came from me trying to look cool or be cool. Right. But tons of it came from me being my goofy ass self. Yep. And just being out there and enjoying myself and taking risks.
Absolutely.
And whether that risk is going to a party where you don't know anyone, or that risk is getting up on a stage, or that risk is trying something new or trying to eat something new, whatever it is, like taking those little risks, the more and more you do that in your life and don't die, the more you realize you can take on more and more. And then the older you get, you're just like, yeah, I can handle it. I don't know what it is, but I can handle it.
Yep. Well, I can't think of a better way to end this interview than on that note. Anjali, it's been a pleasure, absolute pleasure talking with you today. Thanks for taking some time to talk to me and our viewers. Everybody out there, go see...
come check out DesiQuest. Please come check it out.
Check out Stray Gods.
Yeah.
Everything. And we'll be keeping an eye out for all of that fun stuff that you can't talk about yet. And
yes, maybe please do.
Maybe we'll have you back on. Maybe we'll have you back on sometime to talk about it.
Maybe you will.
Excellent. Well, thanks again, Anjali.
Thank you. Take care.